thing I'm the most proud of is like how deeply I trust myself. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I now know I can count on myself to go to bat for myself. Like, I know I won't settle.
Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. Whether you're searching for the one, you're madly in love, or simply curious about romantic relationships, this podcast is for you. I'm Charlene Byers. Each week, you'll hear from women, couples, and experts, and all the ins and outs on how to create your own love story. I am so passionate about this subject, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love. Welcome back to the Love Stories podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byers. Well, happy new week. Okay, let's talk about the big difference between looking for a companion or a partner. Here's the deal. Anybody can go to dinner with you. Anybody can go to the movies with you. Anybody can go on a cruise with you. Companionship is easy. You can get a dog and have companionship. That's why in the matters of the heart, I think we should move from seeking companionship to seeking partnership. There's a big difference. I believe what kills a relationship is the lack of vision for the relationship, because a single person is going after what they want, and then another single person is going after what they want. So the two single people are going after what they want, but they're not looking how the relationship could be bigger than their own individual visions. So when they are in a relationship, they are pursuing their own visions, not partnership. And one of the true success in a relationship is partnership. The vision they have with each other is bigger than their own individual visions. I remember hearing Chris Rock say that two people can move a couch real easy. One person can't move it at all. And what I have realized is when two hearts and two minds come together, that's partnership for the rest of your life. So if you are single and looking for someone, seek partnership, not just companionship. Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is appreciate and understand masculine energy. In a world today where there are more weak men who are looking for women to take the lead, chase them, plan the date, it's important to understand and appreciate masculine energy. Familiarize yourself with the traits associated with masculine energy. It's important to express gratitude for masculine qualities and gestures, whether he's asking you out on a date, making the plans, opening the door, exhibiting protective instincts, and moving the dating dynamics forward. It's important that we as women acknowledge and appreciate these qualities in masculine men, because you don't want to waste your time on wishy-washy men who don't even know what they want. Masculine men are different. They know what they want and they're willing to go after it. I am so excited to introduce this week's guest. Jill Stanton is the creator of Millionaire Girls Club, her corner of the internet where she curates and hosts lavish retreats for women entrepreneurs making over $1 million who want to surround themselves with women who match their future and indulge in the fun of success. When she's not CEOing, she's been found in Phuket, Thailand, where she lives with her husband Josh and their little guy Kai. What I loved about this conversation with Jill is even though she went from bad relationship after all her boyfriends cheated on her, she was finally able to trust herself and her intuition and meet and find the love of her life. With no further ado, Jill Stanton. Well, hello, Jill. Oh my goodness, I've been so excited to have you on. Yay! First of all, I know I can. So I just want to say this right now. I mean, just the fact that tell everyone where you are from, like where you at right now, because we are like totally on the opposite sides of the world. How cool is this?
Well, yeah, I'm Canadian, but I live in Phuket, Thailand.
She's in Thailand, you guys. Yeah. So we were just talking about this before we got on the air. We were like, so she's in the future. Like, yes. I'm like, seriously, like she is. I'm like, she's in the future.
I'll tell you your fortune.
Totally. I'm like, we haven't even, like yesterday to us is not even promised yet. We're still on Thursday for us here in the United States. So
I'm ahead of the game.
She's ahead of the game. Like she's already in the future. Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Okay, so Jill, so listen, so today, like I said, thank you for being on. And this podcast, this show really is all about love and, the trials and the tribulations and the reality and all the ins and outs about love, right? But really is finding out each woman's actual journey to finding love and how that came about. And not only that, also being able to be a woman that has been able to have success, but not only have success in her career, but truly have success in her love life. And so when I thought about you today, and I was so curious and I wanted to hear all about your love story, I was thinking about where I wanted to start with you. And actually, what I would like to ask you first is, when you used to, before you got married and before, where you're at today, I want to know, when you grew up, what did you think of love? What were you expecting growing up? What was your vision of love and romance? What was like that for you?
Well, my parents always had a really good relationship, still do. They are the best of friends. They met on a blind date, which is really funny once we get into my story, because Josh and I met on a blind date, which is really, I don't know how I just put that together right now as we're talking about this. I'm like, wait a second.
Wow. No, for real. You just figured that out right now. You're like, oh my goodness, I met my husband.
I always knew that they did. And obviously I knew we did, but I didn't even put the connection together for some random reason. And Josh and I have been together for 15 years. So clearly I'm asleep at the wheel. But yes, so my parents have always had a fantastic relationship. And so I guess I grew up, I've always been a strong chick, right? So I always grew up knowing I'd probably get married, but I was never in a rush for it. I sure as shit wasn't going to settle. And so, especially seeing my parents' relationship, they just make each other so happy. They're the perfect complement to each other. And so I knew I wanted that. And my journey to getting there was full of relationships that were not that.
Oh.
And so, and also just a whole lot of fun in my 20s. I was kind of a hoe in my 20s. On my own terms, though, I just loved it. I was having a blast.
Listen, you were exploring your options. You were just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? You didn't know what you wanted. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. No. Okay, so go back then. Let's go back a little, further then. So you always kind of thought, okay, obviously you had these amazing role models, which is pretty rare can I tell you the truth? It's actually pretty rare that you had, a lot of times when I get to talk to people, they didn't have these role models of a really solid relationship, a solid family. And so knowing that you already had that, I can only imagine then you're okay, I'm not going to settle for anything less. But being young, but not having that maturity, what was dating like for you? What was it like when you really actually started, dating and meeting new men? Were you thinking at the time it was more, like you said, just for fun? Or were you actually deep down inside wanting that connection? Or maybe that wasn't your thing back then? Yeah,
in all of my teen years, with all my little boyfriends, I always got cheated on. I think I was this disempowered. Yeah, every single boyfriend cheated on me in my teenage years.
They cheated. Well, let's talk about that for a second. Looking back, what do you think that was all about? What do you think that was? You were not picking the right guy?
I think I was, definitely not picking the right guy. I think I was insecure. I had a pretty big experience with really strained relationships with girls. I was mercilessly attacked by girls all throughout high school and junior high. And so I think I was always looking for a guy to save me or to rescue me. And also, I always liked the popular boys, and the popular boys are in demand, and so they would cheat on me. And I was just in a disempowered phase, so I would just keep going back for it. I kind of did it to myself. And then I met my long-term boyfriend as a teenager, and he was
How old were you?
4 years. I was 16 to his 20.
Would you consider this the first time you fell? Hold on. We'll ask you that again. Will you consider this being the first time you actually really fell in love?
For sure. Yeah. And he was like alpha all the way. He was like.
So you're 16.
Alpha energy.
Okay, so you're 16. Okay, you're 16 years old.
I was almost 17. Almost 17.
Okay.
Almost 17.
And how old was the guy again? Say it one more time.
20.
Okay, so you're almost 17.
My parents did not like it.
They didn't know, right? They're like, oh.
Oh, no.
So you are with this guy. You're with this guy for 4 years. You're
3
crazy
years.
in love with him? Oh, 3 years. You're crazy in love?
I was mental for him. Yeah.
Mental. Okay. What happened?
Yeah. He cheated on me with my friend for like, and I knew it. And I actually approached her and said, like, I just can't shake it. I know something's going on. Like, I just deeply know it.
Was it in your body? Like, you just felt it?
Oh, yeah. They would steal little glances at each other. He would, like, defend her, like, all the signs were there. But I was so young, right? And I loved him so much.
No, but I love
slowly
that.
but surely.
Hold on. But hold on, I want to say something. What I love that you just said that you knew there was something about you which is pretty powerful, and especially being that young, knowing that you actually trusted your feelings. Because a lot of times, us women, we feel like we know, but then we doubt it. We're like, I don't know. We don't really lean into that. But there was something about you that you really allowed yourself to like feel, oh no, something's up. So I can't shake it. Something's up. That's pretty powerful.
I think this is a whole conversation in itself, is like women abdicating their power and their knowing. I am fortunate enough that I just have a really strong sense of intuition. Like, even, I don't know if you know human design, but like even my human design shows that I have a strong intuitive gift. And so I just innately trusted that. I've always, I don't know. It's just sometimes it like hits and you're like, that's the move, or that's the truth for me. And so I've just learned to trust that more and more over time. Right? Like I wasn't a pro straight out of the gate, like especially in my 40s, like I'm 42 now. So now I really like, it is my guiding force now, but that wasn't always the case. I would overthink, overthink, you know, those memes like, hold on, let me overthink about it. Hi, that was me. But really also learning my human design has been huge for me, because I'm a splenic authority. If anyone follows human design, which means I have gut instincts.
It's fascinating.
And and I've learned to trust that. So fortunately, I started really getting these feelings. I was about to move in with him, and I just couldn't shake it. I was like, I know something's off. We were battling nonstop, and I was just like, can I swear?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, hon.
Okay, this is my show. I'm out. Absolutely. Yeah. And so we broke up about like 3 weeks before we were supposed to move in together, and I dodged a bullet because right after that, I found out Dude, the second I broke up with him, he moved in with her, knocked her up, and married her. So it was like I really dodged a bullet there.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. So this is your girlfriend?
It was a friend of mine. Not like a close friend, but...
But it was still an acquaintance and a lady that you knew, and she was totally, oh, Lordy. That's just wrong. That's just so wrong in every way. But, that shit happens.
But I dodged a bullet, so I'm like...
You 100%
really grateful that happened. Yeah.
But but still, after you dodged a bullet, you had that experience, how did that affect you moving forward? Truly like trusting men. How did you go from moving forward, trusting guys, and dating again? Like truly, like seriously, because you know that yes, what's
enter the hoe phase. I'm so sorry, my cough is like acting up.
Oh,
but
and you guys,
truly that was like a good.
Jill, bless her heart. She just has a cough today. So we're just going to bear with her. No, it's okay. We can just figure this out. So I got you, girl.
Yeah.
But do you think that's why you went into, like you said, your phase that you were you eating up men left and right?
So, yeah. I had been with the same guy for like 3 years, and I was on my own for the first time, living on my own, like in university, out of the small town. Like I just went wild. So I had a great time. And
how old were you at the time? What age are you at this
19
time?
19 to 23.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So you were free and spirited. And during that time, was there a guy that you ended up falling for besides obviously your husband now that we could talk about, what you really never got that connection with anybody?
No, I met a dude at 23. We had a tumultuous little relationship. Then I met another guy who actually ended up being like a great friend of mine. And then we started dating. And then that was bad news bears. And then I met a really nice guy. And then I feel like I just didn't have the capacity to hold a nice guy at that point. And then I met, and then I got back together with the other bad news bear. And I was with him for about a year and then broke that off. Again, I was like, I knew it was over, and I'm like, moved all my shit out. And I just had this, like, I said to my girlfriend after I broke up with him, I was like, I'm going to go traveling in Australia for a year. She's like, I'm in. And so both of us were like, all right, let's plan. We're going to we gave ourselves a year to save money. I was 27 at this time. And so we decided to move to Australia. That cascaded a whole new set of events that brought my husband into my world. So because we decided to move to Australia, we ended up meeting this other couple who ended up they were Australian, but they were in Toronto. I'm Canadian, so I lived in Toronto. They were in Toronto for a year, just traveling and whatnot. And their friend, his old business partner, Josh, was coming into town. Now, Josh, my husband, is Australian. And he was living in Beijing, China. No, it gets even crazier. So he was living in Beijing, China.
Slow down. Let me observe this. Okay. When you said all of a sudden, you're like, okay, so it's just like you threw that into the universe. I'm, you know what I mean? I'm not having the best luck. I've been in and out with guys. I'm, whatever. Let's change it up. Let's do something. Why Australia? I'm just curious. Where
I don't know. I had a girlfriend who lived there for a year, and she was like, that was the best year of my life. And I was just like, I want to have the best year of my life. I was 28. I was bartending and modeling at the time. I really didn't have
any roots here that you wanted to really, or you didn't know what you're actually going to do. Okay. So fast forward.
Well, at that time, I had a web TV show. Thank God it was during the time that you could erase shit off the internet, because it was all about dating, sex, and relationships. And there's no way in the world I would want that stuff online now. So I had that. I knew I wanted to be.
Shoot, I got to find it now.
No, you won't. Trust. I have searched to make sure no one can find it.
That's fantastic.
But I knew I wanted to do something on my own. I was never meant to have a job. My parents would beg me to get a job, and I'd be like, no, I am not going to have a job. So that was my first foray into entrepreneurship, really not knowing what entrepreneurship was whatsoever. This is dude, I'm talking, I started a web TV show in 2006, the days that Google bought YouTube.
That is
so no one was watching web TV.
No, that's so ballsy. That is so freaking cool. Seriously, because you're right. That was nothing that was really around. That wasn't really available. No. Obviously, everyone has something now. So that was pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, so that was cool. And so I learned a lot, especially how to speak on camera, obviously, how to interview, how to talk off the cuff, all of that kind of stuff. But also I swear I came out of the womb looking for a camera lens. So I've always been comfortable in front of a camera. And so anyway, so I met this couple, and then they were like, oh, you should meet our friend Josh, because he was coming into Toronto for 3 weeks. He lived in Beijing, China, but he was Australian. I was 2 months away from moving to Australia at this point. So I was like, yeah, I'll meet Josh. Is he hot? And they're like, don't even bother. He's single for life, had never had a girlfriend. And I was like,
no.
Perfect. Right up my alley.
Oh, Mr. Josh. Okay. How old was the Josh at the time?
He was 23 to my 28.
Okay. So he's
almost 24. So he was 4 years younger, 4 and a bit years younger than me.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So I go to pick them up because I was the one driving us to dinner. And Josh walks out, and he's wearing, so he's full Beijing hipster mode at this point. And he walks out wearing cobalt blue jeans and a red, white, and black flannel shirt. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, ugh, hey, Josh. And he's like, oh, good day. And I was like, oh, what? Good day. Josh is hot. But he wouldn't talk to me. He ignored the hell out of me. He wouldn't sit beside me, wouldn't sit across from me. He sat diagonal to me. He like ignored me the whole time. And I was like, must have.
Yes, you're like, that's it. I'm getting him. He's going to like me,
Challenge
like it or not.
accepted. And towards the end of the evening,
you obviously were attracted to
me.
the guy, right? Jill, seriously, you obviously had a little thing for the guy. He was caught.
Yeah,
to you.
like there's
even
I
with
must
the clothes,
have like
even
some
with the
sort
clothes.
of totally. I must have some. I mean, he just screamed quiet confidence. He wasn't like alpha energy. He wasn't a posturer. Like he was never trying to prove anything. He had this like innate quiet confidence. And I was like, what is this all about? And like, why are you living in China? You know, like I just couldn't figure it out. And towards the end of the evening, he started talking to me and I noticed like his tone changed and we started like flirting a little. And I was like, okay, all right. And then him and his buddy went to New York for a quick trip. And me and that dude's girlfriend, now wife, went up to my parents' like lake house. And I said to her, like, with a couple other girlfriends, and I was like, we should bring Andrew and Josh up here. And she's like, I don't know. I don't think Josh would. And I was like, just ask him. And so I took her home the next day and Josh and Andrew came home. And she was like, Jill wants us to go up to her cottage. You guys down? And Andrew's like, nah. And Josh was like, yeah, we'll go. And I was like, I'm in.
Okay, hold on. Let me ask you this question. Hold on, I gotta ask you this question before we get into this. So obviously, back up, and I'm sure you know this now. So when you first met Josh, he seemed like he wasn't really interested, but then he did a little flirting with you. But the impression of him, everyone's like, it's just not gonna work. What's his impression of you? What was his side of the story when it came to meeting you for the first time?
He said he was jet lagged. He was like, I wasn't ignoring you. I was jet lagged. I was like, bro, you were absolutely ignoring me. Like, I know you were ignoring me. You were negging me for sure. But his side of things was just like, I mean, he had never had a girlfriend. So, I mean, thank God he had sex with people, but like he had never had a serious girlfriend at that time. Like he truly thought he was like bachelor for life. And so we're up at my cottage. So here's where the story gets like serendipitous, in case it isn't already. But so I was going to Australia, right? Like I was moving to Australia with a girlfriend of mine and we were going to do this whole big road trip up the East Coast. And I was like, well, what do you need for road trips? A harmonica, so that you can like create songs on the road. I don't even know what I was thinking. Like, I don't know why I was so obsessed with it. What did Josh have with him? A fucking harmonica. And so I was like, I know,
For
so
real?
random. And he like
That's so
busted
random.
it out at
Jill,
my
that's
cottage.
so
It's
random.
so random.
Oh, dude, that
It's
is so random.
random.
That's seriously. Talk about the universe really putting us together here. Seriously.
Totally.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so he busted it out at my cottage and I was like, what are the chances? I want to learn harmonica. I want to learn Neil Young's Heart of Gold harmonica solo. And so we went down to...
This lady's full of it. I've never had no woman tell me that she wanted to learn harmonica.
Especially like Neil Young's Heart of Gold, like so random.
Exactly. It's so random.
So we go down to the water and we're like listening to the solo to try and like sound it out. And Josh, at this point, he's like, we're just talking. And he's like, random, out of nowhere, he goes, do you believe in marriage? And I was like, yeah, like, yes, because my parents are married. They have a great relationship. But I'm not in a rush by any means. Like, I'm not like really looking for it. I was like, do you? And he's like, nope. I don't believe in marriage, I don't believe in girlfriends, and I don't believe in love. And I was like, have you ever been in love? And he's like, nope, and I never want to be. And I go to him, all it's going to take is one girl to crack you open and you're toast. And in my head, I'm like, it's me. You idiot.
You really did. You thought it's me, but you still obviously are trying to play cool. You're trying to play
I was like, it's me. Yeah. You dickhead. Like,
but you didn't tell him it was you, right? You were just kind of like...
No. Absolutely not. Like I was playing the game at this point.
Of course you were.
I was playing the game at this point.
And you're already a professional by then, remember?
Yeah. Right, exactly. I knew how to talk game at that point.
You knew how to talk some game with men. Yep.
And so And right after that, he kissed me for the first time. And I was like, what does this mean? Like, I was just, everything was like, what is happening right now? And so we had a great time at the cottage, blah, blah, blah. I dropped them off the next day. I went, like, for the next week, I was with my family up in, like, Northern Ontario, just having, like, a family vacay and whatnot. And we kept up on Facebook. This is like 2009, okay? So Facebook's all the rage at this point.
So the rage, we have cell phones, don't we?
Yeah.
At the time?
iPhone had just come out. That year, okay. If not, yeah. Okay, so, but I didn't have one. I had like a flip phone, like Nokia.
Yeah, the little old school. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
With like Moody Blues as the ringtone.
Girlfriend, I had you know what I used to have? Look, no, I had my little stage too. I was single for a moment too. Not only did I have one of those big, I don't even know what they call it, like the big flip phones, you know, the big black, there was, okay, and a pager.
Yes.
Because
would you page? Did they learn how to page words to you in numbers? Yes.
Yeah, learn how to page words and numbers, but then it was like they had to page me first because you couldn't, the timing for the phone, you only had a certain amount of minutes and you had to pay for them. I remember like that. So I was always like, okay, if you really want to talk, I can call you, but you have to page me first. Don't just call me to waste the time. Oh my God, it was a thing. I look ridiculous.
Look at
I had
you,
this pager.
wheeler and dealer.
Oh yes, I had a pager and I had my big phone. Oh, it was ridiculous, but it was fun. Okay, so then what happened?
Oh, the days. Okay, so then I drop them off. I go up with my family and whatnot. We stay up on Facebook. And I said to him, we should catch up before you leave, because he was about to go back to Beijing, right? And he's like, yeah, we should. And I was like, do you want to go back up to my cottage for an overnight, all four of us? And he's like, yeah, we'll do that. So I pick them up, but it's just Josh outside. And I was like, oh, where are the other two? And he's like, oh, they're coming, but I have something for you. And he busted out the Heart of Gold harmonica solo. And he had learned it while I was away. And I was like,
oh, I'm in. Mr.
This is a done deal.
Josh.
Yeah. And I was like, this is a whole thing. And so that night we had like a whole moment and it was like a thing. And then he left. We did another overnight together, just me and him. Went out for dinner, went out for drinks, whatnot, and just had a great time. And I dropped him off at the airport the next day. And I was just like, I am obsessed with this guy. Like, so what am I going to do?
You're in love.
I was like smitten. I was full on smitten.
Yep.
And so I was like, what are we going to do? And so this is the days of Skype. We talked on Skype every day for like 3 hours a day. Yeah. And so he was like, we should meet up, because he lived in China and I was going to Australia, right? So he's like, we should meet up before you go to Australia. And I was like, yeah, we should. Like, what's in the middle of China and fucking Toronto? And I was like, Vegas. Vegas is not in the middle. Vegas is not in the middle.
I'm like, I don't remember that being in the middle. But that's a big jump there. But okay. She's like, I really want to go to Vegas. He did it.
He flew to Vegas for 3 days to hang out with me. And when he showed up, I was there and I opened the door and he's like, I had a bottle of champagne for us, but the custom guys asked me, how do you say it? He was like, the custom guys took my bottle of champagne. They asked me what I needed it for. And I said, I was bringing it for my girlfriend. And I was like, oh
my God. He's calling me girlfriend, but how are we official? But he hasn't, but he told me he never wants to get married. He never wants to but obviously he's totally into me. So did you feel like that his little initial conversation with you is just a little being cool, Mr. Cool, Mr.
Yeah, like a feeler, putting out the feelers, maybe.
Putting out the feelers.
Because he was so new at that point, you know, like he had never had a girlfriend, never had So I think he was just like rusty at it. So he's like, I told him it's for my girlfriend, like wink, wink.
Oh my goodness. I would be like, you have a girlfriend?
That was a really cute
moment. Do you have a girlfriend? Oh, I'm the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Is she here? Is that bitch here?
No. Is she here? Where is she? I'm going to get her.
I'll kill her. And so we had a great time, blah, blah, blah. We each went back. He went to China. I went back to Toronto. I got ready to move to Australia. So I moved over, and me and my girlfriend did a whole East Coast trip. It was great. La, la, la. I talked to Josh twice a day, every single day. My girlfriend hated it because she was single. Yeah. Oh, she hated it. Like, it was like... Yeah. It really had an impact on our friendship.
That was not fun.
Of course. Of course. I get it. Like, I was
going
zero
with your
fun.
single. Yeah, no, seriously. You're thinking you're going with your single girlfriend. And if you're going on a trip and you two are single ladies, we're talking, we're going to have a great time. But if one's in the relationship and one's single, so I can imagine. I
understand that. Like, I would have been such an asshole to her if she had done that to me. But I was just care. Like, this is my person. Yeah, I did not care at all. Like, I was like, I'm sorry you're mad, and also I don't care. And so when we got back to Sydney, I was in Sydney for like maybe 3 days, and all of a sudden there's a knock at the door. And I was like, oh, that's weird, because we were staying at my girlfriend's house, and she was away at work that day. And I was like, oh, maybe I should answer it. It's Josh at my door.
No.
And I opened the door, and he's like,
and how long were you guys there? 3 days?
In Sydney? Yeah. We had just gotten back from our road trip.
Okay.
And he had orchestrated it with my girlfriend.
Oh, so she knew.
Yeah, she knew.
That's kind of cool. It's okay. The one that was like, not happy with you, she ended up.
Yeah, I mean, like, she was a team player for sure. She was so, like, all the respect and love for her. Like, I know it must have been hard to be with me during that time, because I was like, all I want to do is talk to Josh. I love him.
I love him. I don't want to do nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't want to go out. I was just like, all I want to do is be on Skype. Like, it was ridiculous. And so, I opened my door, and he's like, I love you.
Wow. And how long from when he knocked on your door? No, seriously, Jill, how long from when he knocked on your door to when you guys met and to this whole process? How long was this? What's the
We
time
met in
frame?
August, and that was in October. End of October. What? Excuse me. No, November.
So by then, that was it for him. He was like, I'm locked in with her. Yeah,
he moved back to Australia.
Wow, he did.
Yeah.
So then what happened with you guys? No, seriously. So what happened? So are you now, are you feeling, let me ask you a question though. With Josh, you know how like you said, in the past, you were burnt with guys before and you had that insecurity because obviously the guys were cheating on you and stuff like that. Yeah. Did that start coming up for you with Josh just, or was it different for you? No. Okay.
Yeah, I've never not trusted him. He's just such a person of character. So you could feel that. Like he was never looking at other girls talking, like he never was shady in any capacity. It never came up for me in that
That's
respect.
so important that you said that because, just like we have to look at, the red flags, if there's the red flags and really be honest with ourselves. It's also really important to look and really understand when you have a man like that is actually solid and to be open to be with a solid guy, I mean, again, I think that had a lot to do with, like you said, your intuition and already you being a person that really seemed like you trusted your gut and you're pretty spot on.
I mean, we had other stuff to navigate. Like he had never been in a relationship. And so he didn't know how to like talk about feelings and stuff. And I was like, was seasoned at that point. So we had our different challenges, but it was never a trust issue ever. It's never been
a trust issue. Right. It's been totally cool. No. So, okay. So you and Mr. Josh. Okay. So now the man's, I love you. We've been, you guys known each other for 4 months. You are still going to be there for what, a year? Was that the plan at the time?
Yeah. Yeah. And so at that time we were in Sydney and me and my girlfriend, like at that time for us, Sydney was so expensive. Like it is an expensive ass city. And so we were just burning through cash. And so we all decided, me, Stacy and Josh, all decided to move up to the Gold Coast, which is where Josh is from. He's like, I know that city. I can show you guys around. Like you guys can get jobs there. Cause we were there on working visas. Right. And so her and I each got jobs. We were bartenders at that time. And so we started working on the Gold Coast. And then, him and I moved in together by February, I think it was.
Already? You already moved in with the guy? That's fantastic. Wow.
Yeah, it was,
what happened to the girl?
3 months later. She kept living with the other girl. So when we moved to the Gold Coast, myself and Stacy rented a room in this other chick's apartment. And then Stacy stayed there and I moved in with Josh.
Okay. And during this time, remember how fast, I mean, we're going to go back a little bit. You said you were bartending, okay? But also, and you're falling in love. But then you already told me you knew back when that you had that show and you knew that you were, good on camera and you wanted to pursue something in that way. What's going on with you in that? Is that kind of like totally on the side right now? Or are you aligning yourself?
So
okay, what's going on?
Stacy and I actually moved to Australia with another web TV show. And we got sponsored by the Gold Coast Tourism Board. We had a whole bunch of tours sponsored, a van sponsored, like all this stuff. And so as I was working at the bar, my bar, the dude who owned the bar that I was working at, he owned 3 venues in the same strip. And he heard about the web TV show. He just heard about the fact that we were doing video marketing, content marketing at that time. And he approached me saying, I heard you're doing this stuff. Like, would you be able to support us? And I was like, let me pitch you a package. And I was like, this is my ticket out of bartending, because I hated bartending at this point. I'd been bartending for close to 10 years at that point. So I was like the most jaded bartender you could get served by. So I desperately
you were like,
wanted
I don't have good
so
energy. If you sat there with me, I would just give you the drink. I wasn't happy.
Oh yeah, I was not happy. Especially in Australia, they don't tip. So like now I really wasn't happy because I used to make like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a night back in Toronto because I worked at a huge club. And then to go from that to making $20 an hour with no tips, I was like, what is this?
They actually don't tip? No, I didn't know that. They actually don't tip?
No. They might do it a bit more now, but like they didn't back then.
I remember I used to, I think one time I was not a bartender, but like a waitress at a sports bar. And it was here, obviously in the United States. And I would only work, and I was single. So I was in my single stage, but I had a little boy. And my son was born. So I used to work like, literally he would go to bed and I would work late. And I would only work a few hours, and it was a sports bar, and I was a waitress, and and the uniform was basically a polo shirt and some jeans. And girlfriend, at the time, this is a long time ago. I have a 33-year-old son. This is a long time ago. I would leave there just on tips, like $400 a night.
Yeah. It's
and I was in jeans. It wasn't like I was literally in jeans. It wasn't like the Hooters. It was jeans and a polo shirt, but the cash was crazy. The tips were crazy. Yeah. So I can imagine you were so frustrated. You're like, $20.
Oh my God, I was pissed. So I wanted out. So I pitched him a package. He said yes to manage the social media and create content for all 3 venues. And I was like, done. So I quit. And then my girlfriend and I started doing that for him. And so that was my first like profitable business, because my other 2 ventures never made it. Yeah. So I was like, sweet. Okay, we're on to something. And then that was going great. Josh and I were going great. And then my visa was up.
What were you guys doing? What were you guys specifically doing? Like, I'm just curious. What were you doing for this bar? Were you advertising?
Social media content. Yeah. Talking to people, booking tables through Twitter.
Really? That's fantastic. Yeah. Wow.
I've always
you're like a pioneer.
Because I was a bartender, I've always been good with small talk. I've got the gift of the gab, so I knew how to talk to people, and so I created a business out of that. Also with human design, my design is full relationship builder, and so I've just always been really gifted at that. So I leaned into that and relied on that heavily, and I would drive sales through Twitter by booking tables. I would search keywords looking for people looking for like dinner plans. And I would like, oh, you should come in, try a blah, blah, blah on us. And I would just book tables nonstop. So that was great. And then my visa ran out and Stacy decided to stay. And Josh and I went to New Zealand because I could get it was like right beside Australia, good time zone. And Josh's best friend was living there at the time, and I could get another year-long visa so we could stay in that area of the world. And so then we went there, and then from there, we moved to Toronto. I mean, we've lived in so many places. From there, we lived in Toronto. From Toronto, we went to Thailand to Malaysia, to China, to Mexico,
was Josh
back to
working too? What was Josh doing?
He had his own business.
He did. Okay.
He owned he owned a software company with the dude who introduced us.
With the guy who introduced you. Okay.
Yeah. And so back around like late 2011, both him and I were each getting kind of disenchanted with our respective businesses. He was feeling over the software company. I was so over managing social media clients because I took that business. I took that to New Zealand. I took that back to Toronto. I started like getting clients, building up a sweet little income for myself. But it was like I had like all these tiny bosses and I was just over it, right? And so then he said to me, we should start a business together. And I was like, I'm in. So we had been dating for almost 3 years at this point. Okay. And we were engaged at this point.
You were engaged at the time? Okay.
Yeah. So we got engaged in Costa Rica.
We want to hear that real quick. We'll back that up. Back that up. Wait a minute. So you're traveling. You guys are trying to figure this out. You're both working and doing your thing. And then you go to Costa Rica. Were you expecting him to ask you to marry you, or was this completely out of nowhere?
Okay. So now the story gets even cooler. So when I met Josh's best friend, his name is Ken. I met him in Australia when he was there for a weekend, or a week for work or something. He was the one living in New Zealand. And I was getting to know Ken more. He was like a wickedly smart engineer, like goofy, funny, tall, good looking, all of this. And I was like, it just clicked for me one day, yet another hit for me. And I was like, yo, I think this dude is my sister's soulmate. And I said to him, Ken, I want you to meet my sister. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you're her soulmate. And he's like, wait, come on. Like, that's so heavy to say. Like, you and I don't really know each other. And I was like, just trust me. I just fucking know it. And so then Josh and I went back to Toronto. My sister's in Toronto at this point. She had just graduated university. She's a wickedly smart engineer as well. Tall, goofy, like they're just so aligned. Anyways, so then Ken was in between projects at his firm. And he's like, I'm going to come over to Canada for 3 weeks. Let's go on a trip. And I was like, let's go on a trip. My sister wanted to go on a trip because she had just graduated university. She wanted to like celebrate. And so I orchestrated a trip for all of us to go to Costa Rica. She knew I thought that they should meet. He knew that I thought they should meet. They met at the airport. 3 hours later, they were attached at the hip. Like, bing! He moved to Canada 3 months later.
Wicked sense to you. That is fantastic.
That's the only one I've ever been successful at. Please, no one reach out to me being like, are you a matchmaker? I have not done well ever since. I'm just good with me and my sister.
Ladies, I know you're getting excited. You're like, oh, well, I got to call Jill. No, she just said one time. That's okay.
I'm actually horrible at it for anyone else that isn't me and my sister. But yeah, they clicked right away. Like they hit it off like a house on fire. And then he moved to Canada 3 months later. They're now married with 2 kids. So that was like, tick, that's a cool fairy tale moment.
Right,
so
right. But when
Josh and I moved back to Toronto. So when we moved back to Toronto, I had a whole bunch of stuff at my parents' house and I went to get that for our new apartment. And I was unpacking boxes. So I used to model. I think I had mentioned that back in Toronto. Like when I was in Toronto, I modeled. And I did a wedding photo shoot. And I didn't realize I had kept the fake engagement ring. Like, not a real one, a fake one.
Okay, yeah.
And so I came out and I was like, ooh, hello. Trying to play to Josh.
Yeah, of course.
And his face went white. And he's like, where'd you get that? And I was like, what? And I was like, it's fake. And he's like, oh, and I was like, oh my, okay, bye. And I like scurried back into my room. I called my girlfriend. I was like, oh my God, I think Josh bought me an engagement ring. And so I think I had ruined his surprise at that point.
But you tried to play it off. You're like, it's fake. Because you really thought it was fake. You didn't know it. Yeah. Okay.
No, it was the fake one. It was like the fake engagement ring from the...
Okay.
But he didn't know that it was like a fake engagement ring. He thought I had found his ring and put it on and come out like, ooh la la. Yeah. So his face, like you could read it all over his face. He went like white. And he was just like so stoic. He's like, where'd you find that? Like, he's like panicking on the inside. And so then a couple weeks later, we were in Costa Rica, and Josh was like, let's have like an afternoon to ourselves. I'm going to like organize a kayak trip and blah, blah, blah. But it poured rain that day. And so we went down and they're like, oh, the kayaks are closed because of the weather. And he was like so frustrated about it. And I was like, what? Who cares? Like, I didn't even want to kayak anyways. Like, let's just go for a walk or something. And as soon as we start walking, he's like, I love you so much. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Oh my God, guys, it's happening. And so just as, like there was a huge storm rolling in, so we kind of like went under a little tree canopy. And we were setting up our little like blanket or towels or whatnot. And he's like, oh, look, a monkey. And I was like, no. And he's like, no, turn around and look. And I was like, oh, where's the monkey? Knowing full well what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And he was on his knee and he asked me to marry him. And it was so sweet. And then just as that happened, it was like a downpour. And it was just like such a cool moment. It was really
such a cool moment. Yeah, because you're like, oh my God, the man that said he's never going to get married, never going to have kids, or whatever the hell he said, now he's actually asking me to marry him in Costa Rica with the rain and the whole thing. How cool is that? How cool is that? That's fantastic. Okay, so we get married. Yep. We're doing good. So during this time, so basically by the time that you guys met to the time you got married, are we about 4 years or 3 years?
Yeah.
Realistically? Okay.
Yeah.
So
we got married December 2012. So like 3.5 years.
So 3.5 years. So moving forward in like realistically with the relationship. So it sounds like, for the most part, Josh, like you said, you can trust Josh, everything's good, but obviously relationships have waves. What was also going on in your guys' marriage? Were you guys pretty, like when you first got married, were you guys pretty solid, or did things change? Like was there a period of time that, you're crazy in love with this man, you say this man's a good person. Was there a period of time that things changed for you guys, or have you guys been pretty solid?
Not then. Like we started a business the year we were getting married. Don't do that. Guys, don't start a business with your fiance the year you're getting married. It is like the most emotional year. And so we had some, not like it was never like, oh my God, are we even going to get married? It was just like trying to work out the kinks. I had never had really a business with someone, right? I didn't really know the ropes of entrepreneurship, right? And so Josh, really, as lame as this sounds, was like my first mentor. He taught me pretty much everything about running an online business, how to write for the web, SEO, content, email lists, audience build, like all of that kind of stuff, picking products, like all of that, product research, keyword research, like market research, competitive research, like all this kind of stuff, how to build websites, all of that. And so it was like the first few years of our business was challenging because the first 3 years of any business is quite emotional, I think, at least. You're transforming your identity.
Yeah. Yeah, and what kind of business were you guys starting at the time?
At the time, it was an affiliate. We had a network of affiliate sites. So we had one, it went really well. We got it up to around like 4,000 a month. Then we added another one that took us up to like 6, 7. And then we started like really cranking them out. And that's how we really made our first 100,000 a year. And then from there, and we were living in Thailand for the first time, which was like, Thailand's a big digital nomad hub. And then from there, people were like, well, how are you guys making money? Like, what are you, drug dealers? Like, what's happening here?
What the hell are you guys doing?
And so on our wedding week, actually, which is probably like the 1 week you shouldn't work, we were like scheming and dreaming on our balcony. And Josh was saying, we should start a website where we just like talk about our journey because so many people are asking us. And I was like, yes, let's do it. And he was like, what would we call it? And it's like, we're on the balcony, we're having rum. Like it was in Costa Rica again. That's where we're getting married, Costa Rica.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, screw the 9 to 5. And we were both like, oh, oh my God, is it available? We locked it in. And we honestly like sat on it for a while because we had never had a personal brand. I guess I did with 20 something, but like my web TV show back in the day, but it was so different, right? Like I'd never had like a personal brand focused around topics, selling digital courses, like never anything like that. And so that really, we had to like really find our feet with that. So we had friction in just the way of like trying to figure out our roles, like who's going to do what. And like trusting the other to have their side of things. That was really the only friction we had.
For the most part, it sounds like you guys then actually worked pretty well together.
We do. We're the yin and yang for sure. Like he is structure, like systems, team, strategy, like funnels. And I am content, communication, like interviews, connecting with people, relationship building, client management, all of that kind of stuff. And so I'm the front facing and he's behind the scenes. In Screw the 9 to 5 though, both of us were front facing.
Okay, you guys were.
Both of us, like we were a duo. But in Millionaire Girls Club, that's just me, obviously. And Josh is like behind the scene running my like funnels, my ads, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. How long did you guys run the Screw Your 9 to 5?
Screw the 9 to 5 was from 2013 and we just phased it out this year. So 10 years.
Wow, 10 years.
Yeah,
fantastic.
We had it for a good, it was like
during that time,
really
what did
where
you
we
say?
cut our teeth.
Okay. And during that time, then you ended up starting something else? What did you say that you have?
So I had the idea for MGC, for Millionaire Girls Club in 2019. But again, it hit me like, that's the move for me. We were in Bali at the time. Our son was 1 and it just hit me like a lightning bolt. And I was like, I'm going to run luxury retreats for women who make $1 million plus. And I told Josh and he's like, I love this idea. When are you going to do it? And I was like, probably never. Because I had had all these strained experiences with women before. So then an idea to hold space for like powerful ass women, like not a chance. I was so intimidated by it. And so I really had to do a lot of my own work. So it took me nearly 2 years to actually hit go on it. And so I hosted my first retreat in 2022. So it really took me like a lot of work to get there.
To really get to that place, to feel confident.
Plus I had to Screw the 9 to 5. Like that was like my safety net, you know. Like
and that was doing well. And then you had a baby. Then you just said you had a kid?
And I had a baby. Yeah, we had a kid in 2018.
Right. So how was the baby at the time?
Kai was 1 when I had the idea, and then 3 when I ran my first retreat.
When you ran your first.
Sorry, 4 when I ran my first retreat. 4 when I ran my first retreat.
Where did you run your first retreat? Where was your first retreat?
Costa Rica.
How many?
Costa Rica.
Yeah, I can tell. I need to go.
Yeah.
How many girls for the first time? Because your very first retreat.
14.
You had 14 ladies?
Yeah. It was like,
how did you advertise
I don't even know
for
how
that?
it happened.
How did that happen?
I didn't. So here's the thing. Like, this is why I believe I'm the one to lead it, because I did not advertise for it because I was so scared about it. I only knew 3 of the girls who were coming, and the rest just heard about it through someone who had heard about it and started reaching out, and it filled that way. And so I've always just known it's my move, but it just took my own work to become the version of me who runs it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It. Is this something that you still do now?
Yeah, it's my main gig.
That's your gig. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is something, so how often do you run these retreats? Like what is it like now compared to how it was then?
Yeah. So that one, I went into it like, I don't know, like Josh and I have such a good thing going with Screw the 9 to 5. I don't know if I'm going to run one. I'll just do this one. Like, I don't know if this is my thing. And like day 1, the girls were like, are you going to do another one? And I was like, I don't know, like maybe not. And this is like 2022. So the pandemic was still a thing. It was such a bitch to plan a retreat in a pandemic, you know, like
girlfriend.
It was nuts. So I was like, I don't know. After day 2, I was like, I'm all in, bitches. Like we're doing this thing.
Yeah. You're like, we're doing it. We're doing it. Yeah.
It was just the easiest, most intentional, healing, effortless thing I had ever done. It really played to my strengths of connecting people.
So just for the listeners, for people that are listening and they're kind of like, what is she talking about, a retreat? Just give us a little information on that. Like, what is that? What is the retreat? How long usually is it? How many do you run a year? You know, like if they are interested in maybe like contacting you.
Of course, yeah. So it's for entrepreneurs who make $1 million plus a year in their business. And I have two versions of it. So I have the club. So I have Millionaire Girls Club retreats, which are just 5-day one-off retreats. And then I have the club, which is a year-long mastermind / bougie social club. And so when you join that, you either get one retreat and a 3-day getaway, which is always like North America location, whereas the retreats are always international. So my first one was in Costa Rica, my second one was in St. Lucia, and my next one coming up is in Isla Mujeres, Mexico next February, but it's sold out already, which is amazing.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And how many days is your retreat?
5.
5 days. Okay. You said that.
Yeah.
That's
and
fantastic.
so it's very much play hard to everyone else's work hard. Like we're not whiteboarding shit there. We're not talking about like strategies or tactics. We're on yachts. We are doing like massages. We're doing deeper work. Like it really is white hot ideas, big conversations, like expanded perspectives and like private chefs, like beachfront mansions. But because of that, like one of the main things people reach out to me about when they hear about MGC is they always say like, oh, I'm not there yet, but when I am, and I'm like, how do I fix that? Right? Because I want to obviously control the growth of MGC and I can't just keep waiting for people to just find me. And so I was like, how can I solve that objection? And so I've created a second division called Her First Million. And so Her First Million is for women who are already at $250K in their business, but want to make their first million. And so that has their own set of retreats. My first one this year is in Phuket. My second one's actually in Phuket as well next May. And so that is like its own division, which I'm really excited about.
Oh,
so that's just launching in the next few weeks.
And so with that launching, so Josh is still all behind the scenes. So does he help you with these retreats? Is he still like,
my number 2, Christina, really helps me with the planning and facilitation of those. Yeah.
Right. But it's still kind of like
he sets up all my like marketing funnels, like all of that kind of stuff. So he's in the background for sure. Yeah.
All the things. And then, okay. So did you guys end up just having one child or two? How many kids do you guys have?
Yeah. No, one.
Okay. So you have the one. Kai. So how old is your child now? How old is Kai?
5.5.
5.5?
Almost 6.
Oh my goodness. So who watches the baby when you're gone on these amazing retreats?
Josh.
Oh, fantastic.
I just go for them. Yeah. I have my planner and stuff who come to the retreats with me, but Josh watches Kai. Yeah.
Josh watches Kai, works out.
And Kai's in school and stuff like that. So, I mean, he goes to school here, to an international private school here.
Oh, there you go. That's so cool. Well, this is interesting because, there's a lot of women also that are single and they really long to work with their partner. They just don't know what capacity. And they're like, I want to meet someone that we have like-minded views and we want to work with each other. And what I love about this story is if there really is true alignment, because I'm in the opposite. Like I work with my husband too. So Mark has a other type of full-time job, but we started the Byars company, which is a personal development company. He helps with, relationships and all aspects of life. And so he's the same type of deal. He's more behind the scenes guy. I'm up front. I'm the one that's just like kind of like you. But
the fire in the engine.
The fire in the engine. But my view or, my experience has also been, I mean, of course we've had our moments to where, we butted heads and we weren't sure. I think it was the same thing that you said, our roles. And it's just like anything else, like in relationships, like it's in when you're in business, you have certain roles. And I feel the same thing in relationship. There's certain roles, there's certain times that we bounce off each other roles, just depending on where we're at in life, just depending on what season we're at. But I have experienced it that it can be very powerful, very, exciting. Like it's been more positive. I love that, him and I have started a company together. What would be your advice for people? Like, I mean, it seems like to you that you also had this good experience. So do you feel then obviously couples can?
I'm not pretending that Josh and I haven't been through hard seasons. We are on the other side of like one of the hardest seasons of our whole relationship in the last few months where we have just like, I feel I initiated a separation.
What was going on with you?
Over the last 2 years, we had just grown more disconnected. And I think both of us kind of repeated patterns of like avoiding and people pleasing. And my mom, when I was growing up and still now, like, I love her. She's great. She's a wonderful mother. She was an amazing wife, but she is an avoider around any kind of conflict, and she never speaks her needs really. And I think that I learned that and I internalized that. And when Josh and I hit friction, which is just like, you know, as so happens when you have a kid and you're running a business and you're married and things are stressful, and, you know, like I was no longer speaking up for myself or what I needed. And I was prioritizing his emotional state, his needs, his desires, his energy, his timeline, his stress levels, like everything. I was like abandoning myself and abdicating my own power. And it was just like disintegrating our relationship. And I just hit a point where I was just like, fuck this. Like, this sucks. This is not who we are. And I don't like it. And I refuse to live the rest of my life like this. Like, at the time I was 41, I was like, this is not the rest of my life. I refuse. Like, I'm a catch. So
right, you're like a catch. But this is the first time that you really, really went through something in your marriage.
I had had to come to Jesus with him last September. And I thought that would like fix things, and it did momentarily. And then we kind of fell back into our old patterns. We also weren't working with anyone to like help us through that. And so we were just kind of flying blind, trying to figure it out. But we were still bringing our own like stuff into it.
Well,
our own triggers.
Let's stay with that. Let's stay with that for just a second. Let's stay with that for a second. That is so important that you just said that. Okay. So if you're in a marriage or a relationship or whatever that is, and life is going to happen. Life is going to go in waves, okay? Things are going to happen. That's truly how relationships work. And when you're in those waves that you're like, oh, things are crashing, things are not good. And two people decide, okay, you know, we're going to have the talk. Let's, you know, we have the intentions of, no, we love each other. You know, something has to change. Let's make some changes. But the truth is, if we don't do something different, if you don't actually go talk to someone or have tools or have a different perspective or have a different ears and listening, 100%.
An objective third party.
Yes, 100%. Listen, everyone, like, listen, you will fall back into your patterns.
Absolutely.
It's just,
you can't even see them.
You can't. Well, I always say to people when I work with people, I said, listen, it's so important to work with someone because you can't actually see your blind spots.
Yeah.
You can't Absolutely. See sometimes, you can't see how you're actually showing up, how you are playing a part in the relationship because
or it's what you're making certain things mean.
Yes.
That's the whole
100%. Thing. What you're making it mean, and it's easier to be able to see what they're doing, but you can't really see. And it's always based on, you know, like our history and what we really believe is true or not true. So that really starts coming out. So I can see how you guys had that conversation. You're going in that stage in your marriage, and you guys, listen, great relationships go in stages. I mean, there's some amazing relationships, and they've had really, really long, tough stages, like for real.
Well,
and
what when
happened
you say
with
conversation, like it wasn't a conversation. I blindsided him. Like I thought we were on the same page. I was like, this sucks. So both of us clearly are out. Like, you know, we were just in a really tough phase and not really. I almost like. I don't even know how to describe like how it got there. It was just like. Slowly but surely it disintegrated, you know, like the talk, like our efforts to repair things wouldn't be long lasting, you know, and we're just, I think I was like to the point that I was choking on the poison that is like anxiety and resentment, you know, like I didn't know what to do. And so I initiated it blindsided him though. Like I was like, oh, he's totally on the same page, you know, like he wants out too. And he wasn't, but like, that was such a pivotal moment for us. Like, I really believe that we walked through a portal in that exact moment. Like, I've even said to Josh, like, multiple times since then, I was like, I did not know you had this side to you. Because the way he's shown up since that moment, like, it was like, it was like, I don't even recognize him anymore. He's just different. His energy's different. How he is with me is different. How he is with himself is different. How he is with his our son is different. How he is in business is different. Like, it was like the transformation we both needed that we didn't know we needed. And I know I always go back to this, but like from a human design perspective, I am a manifester, and that is the initiating type. And Josh is a manifesting generator. That is a responding type. And so even from a human design perspective, I had to initiate that. And because I initiated it, it gave him the chance to like his life force to be unlocked and him to respond. And that's exactly what happened. And it changed our whole marriage.
It totally changed your marriage.
Yeah.
Oh, well, see,
and we were
everyone,
like deep in conversation. And then we started working with a coach.
That's what I was going to say. Did you guys end up working with someone? Because I probably was the thing. Yeah.
Twice a week, every single week. We would do one session with her private and then one session together.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Can you tell everyone brief, just because I know you mentioned it a few times, just give them an overview of what human design is, because so they can kind of put that in perspective, listening to this whole conversation.
Yeah, I think one of the easiest ways, like it's such a like complex system. It's like an amalgamation of couple different systems: the Chinese I Ching, astrology, chakras, and why am I forgetting one? Oh my God, I'm gonna freeze. But either way, it is essentially like it is how your energy is best designed, how you are best designed to use your energy to create cohesion and alignment and joy in your relationships, in your work, in your life, in your own personal power, in your family life, in money, in decisions, like all of it. It is when you can learn your human design and really tap into that, not like a surface level, like, oh, I'm a generator, but you have no context for what that is. Like if you can really start to learn and understand your human design, like it's, for me at least, it's been a game changer for me. I'm a 1/4 splenic. I'm a 1/4 splenic manifester, quad right, which means I'm highly perceptive. I can read a room. I have strong intuition. I'm quick in my decisions. I am an initiator. I'm a relationship builder. I am the type who loves to share information, like exactly like this. This is my one line right now. And so I have spent I've been off the deep end with it for like the last year. I like know my son's design. It's like how I parent him. I know all of my clients' design. I know my number 2's design. I know Josh's design. I know my sister's design. Like anyone and everyone I know, I try to find out their human design, and because I tailor my communication around it, because different types respond differently. Mm-hmm.
If someone was interested in that, where can they go?
Yep. I use jovianarchive.com. The biggest thing is you need your birth time. So a lot of people struggle with that, but if you can find your birth time, that is the biggest thing. You need your birth date and your birth time and where you were born. And that will give you like your type, your authority, your profile. And then you'll have this like body graph thing, which looks like the chakra system. But it's a bit more like complex. There's channels and gates and all these things. Like it is.
Well, you know what's fascinating, because it seems it's layered. I think that would be fascinating too, because if you are also, this show, this podcast is about finding love, finding alignment, and really seeing how relationships come together and work. And it really does matter who we pick. That's my biggest thing. It really matters who you pick to be your life partner, your person for the rest of your life. And it just seems like this is such another beautiful tool just to kind of like understand yourself and to really see what it is, that you resonate with. Yeah. So ladies, if you've never heard of that, if that's something you're interested in, check it out. Find out about yourself.
One of my favorite human design experts, she's episode 3 on my podcast. And we go through like quite a like detailed breakdown of like the basics of human design, which would probably be like a really good place to start. So the link to that is just mgcpodcast.com.
Perfect. What's your name of the podcast? Your podcast, hon?
The Millionaire Girls Club podcast.
The Millionaire Girls Club. There you go. The Millionaire Girls. Yeah, you don't have to be a millionaire either to learn your human design. You can still learn your human design.
Yes,
it doesn't
absolutely.
Matter. Okay, girlfriend. So I know. I keep keeping you. I'm so sorry, but this story is so juicy. It's so juicy. It's so good. I love it. Okay, so now you and Josh go through this crazy experience. Things are not good, but you really said to yourself, you guys decided to lean in and really figure it out and work this out. Where are we now? How is marriage now? How is our relationship now?
Amazing. Yeah. Both of us
so
are
happy
just
you
so
stuck it
grateful for
through.
that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm actually I think that's the thing we're most proud of. Like we feel really proud of ourselves for going to bat for our marriage. You know, it would have been easy to walk. It would have been so easy to walk, but we are in it. We worked through it. We have like such a new level of appreciation and respect for each other, admiration for each other. We're actually like an hour and a half away from leaving for our first ever. We're doing a private ayahuasca ceremony, him, myself, and a shaman here. We're going for 2 nights. And so that is like as a marker for like this new chapter for us, but we've never been better. Truthfully, like we're deep in conversation, more connected than ever, more respectful of each other than ever. Like we're meant to be together, and I'm just so fucking proud of us that we stuck it out and we did the work.
That's beautiful, Mama. I am so happy that you guys actually decided. And it actually takes, that's what I'm trying to tell you, it takes 2 people to decide to do the work. You know, it really does. And it really takes 2 people to say, no, we're not going to give up on this. We're going to make sure that we exhaust everything we can, because, you know, if there was love there's still love. And again, you know how you keep saying about human design, and that's why I always go back to the same thing. It really does matter. That's why this work, you know, the work that I do is so important, because it really does matter how you have to make sure as a human being that you clear your love blocks, that you know exactly what it is that you're wanting and what you're not going to accept. And that is something that is so powerful. What were you going to say, Jill?
And I think the thing that I'm coming out of it with the most is like the thing I'm the most proud of is like how deeply I trust myself. I think that's the biggest thing. Like that. I now know I can count on myself to go to bat for myself. Like I know I won't settle for anything that is no longer for me. Like I deeply, deeply trust myself to go to bat for myself.
Oh, I got goosies.
And even when it's scary, even when it's scary, even when it's like terrifying, I can count on myself to be there for myself. And I'm just in a phase of like, show me what I'm capable of. And that's the most important thing. That is actually the most important thing. And I think that's where a lot of women abdicate their power.
Yes. 100%.
Big time.
And that's why we need to go inwards first. We need to go inwards first and really find out what it is that we are truly wanting to feel, what it is that we really want in a relationship, and really understanding ourselves. And everyone has a different feeling, a different way, but really stepping into that and having that confidence that you like, oh, I know exactly what it is. I know exactly how I show up. That is so important. You know, ladies that are listening today and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, you know, she's found this great guy, and it just seems like things have just kind of been in alignment and everything's working out. And a lot of ladies, you know, I'll tell you right now, you know, they have, you know, been in long-term relationships. They have been in relationships and things didn't work out. You know, things didn't work out. And now they're at a point in their life, they're single and they're wondering, like, you know, is it possible? Like, what advice would you give to women that are listening today that are like really like listening to your story and say, wow, she's so lucky, you know, that she's, you know, has this great guy and okay, you know, life really does go on. But what advice would you give them?
I think the biggest thing is like the number one thing you could do for yourself is like, 1, get clear on who he is, right? Who is that guy? Who do you want to call in? The next step though is the biggest. Who does he want? Who does he want? What is the kind of woman he wants to be with? Identify that and become her. Because if you are trying to attract the man of your dreams and you are not being the version of yourself that would attract the man of your dreams, that's the first step. Because so often people are like, I'm just going to manifest, and like it's all on him to tick the box. No, my friend, it's on you to tick the boxes and he will come in. You be that first and he will come in. But so many people are like, I can just be who I am right now. Yeah, cool. Sure. Absolutely. And you will call in someone who is aligned with who you are being right now. But if you want this like picture perfect version of whoever's in your dreams, like you have to be the version of you that would be able to call in that kind of man.
Oh,
I think that's the biggest thing where people
that is absolutely
drop
the biggest thing. Oh, you're a woman of my words. Oh, I love it. That was perfect. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. You know, if whatever you want, become that person first. Absolutely. Be that person, know who you are. And, you know, you always hear women, they're like, well, I want this, but are you that way? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Is that you? Is that really you? Or no, not so much.
And I think that comes down to a lot. Like, I think people think, okay, well, I'll work out more or whatever it is. But like, what decisions does she make? Like, how does she carry herself? What are her standards for her life? What are her boundaries? Like, what are her habits? What is the work she does on herself? Who is she? Like, what is her innate power? Like, how does she move in her life?
And what energy do you show up, right? Like what energy do you bring? Like what is it? What energy that you bring when you're out and about? And who are you? Who are you? Yes. Oh, I love that, Jill. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you so much for this conversation today. I can just imagine our listeners are, I love that this conversation was fantastic. I love your love story. I love how, you know, you were able to tell us, you know, the reality of the truth that, you know, marriages are going to go through stuff. You can find your perfect person, but that doesn't mean that everything's going to be all perfect. No, you can go through things. But what I love about this is how you guys also decided to stay together and work through this. And you can now be on the other side and be a testimony to, you know, really doing the work with one another. And that's pretty beautiful. And I'm excited to meet your Josh one day, but you know what I mean? We have to bring you back on because, you know, the show also is moving forward. We're going to be in a different studio and we're looking to interview couples so we can get so we can obviously hear the different perspectives because obviously you have your version of the story, but I can only imagine, you know, what's going to come out of Josh's mouth. So I think that's fascinating, you know?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, hon. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And if people want to get a hold of you and find you and be in your amazing world, seriously, how can they find you, Jill?
Yeah, the easiest way is millionairegirlsclub.com or just reach out to me on IG at the Millionaire Girls Club.
Fantastic. Okay, ladies, you heard her. So, you know, she has different programs, different things. She's amazing. She's fantastic. And I swear her energy, ever since I've met her, like in the moments we've had, is on point. This is really her. This is really her. This is really her. She's just a bust of, I don't know what, sunshine. That's what I'm going to say. You're like this thing of sunshine. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much, Charlene.
That's a wrap. Wow. I loved my conversation with Jill and how her and her husband, although they seem to have it all together, they realize life happens and things change. But with the changes and the challenges that they went through in their relationship was when they decided not to give up on love and get the help and do the work to now have even a better relationship than they had before. They didn't give up and now are more in love than ever. So inspiring. If you're loving these podcasts and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.